Hi, and we are back, and we have with us the filmmaker, one of the filmmakers behind Hanky Panky, the telepathic handkerchief horror comedy. It is co-director, writer, and also actor in the film, Nick Roth. Hello, Nick.
Yeah, wear a lot of hats in this movie.
Yes,
Ah,
a lot of
ah,
hats. And
Yep.
ah.
Can
um,
you seem yes, I've told that joke before. Is
I'm
that
all over
clear?
that.
I it makes more sense if you've seen the movie too. There's a lot, I guess, that we can talk about with this movie, and a lot of things that I think are interesting to, especially to people with an interest in micro budget cinema, and maybe your fellow micro budget filmmakers could learn a lot from this film. So, but I think probably the best first place to start is with the genesis of the project because I know it's a lot longer than you might guess.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a movie that came about because we just really wanted to make a feature film. Me and Lindsey and a number of our collaborators had worked together on a lot of shorts, music videos, corporate videos, everything. But really, like, there's nothing like making a movie, for getting people to see it because there's just not that much you can do with a short as like there is when you have a whole movie. And so Hanky Panky exists because this was the movie that we figured we could make. Like what, you know what I mean? It's not like we were sitting around burning with what stories are we trying to create for the world? Is it this talking handkerchief fights a evil killer top hat movie? No, it was that we wanted to make a movie. We wanted to, and my best guess was I was like, well, I don't know if we can make it that good, but I bet I can make it really funny. I believe that we can make a really funny movie. We have really talented, funny friends who can act, and I believe in us in that. And I think that if we make it a horror movie, it'll make it more likely people will see it because we had worked a lot in and around horror and the horror world and the horror community, and they're a good bunch of folks to watch weird shit. And so comedy horror. It's just like that wasn't even like a choice that was made. It was just like this is what I think we can accomplish. And I don't know, we like puppets. We got puppets. Toby is a puppeteer. We were like, okay, puppet comedy horror. We got a cabin. Let's make it. Let's do it.
So I would normally have us alternate questions, but because just before I forget, I wanted to ask behind you, do we have actual prop from the film or props from the film?
Yeah, I've set up my little Zoom station to be a little hanky panky homage, and so we do have one of the, there wasn't just one hat or one napkin playing. It's like Mary Kate and Ashley, you got to like sub in the twin once in a while. Um, I have here a Harry. He's the peacock feather eyes have worn away into nothing, but and I also have a Woody with me. I have a couple. I have, there's some that are rigged to fly, some that are rigged to be on a hand.
All right, Giles, question.
Yeah. Let's if we can dig a little. You've nicely explained that you kind of, if you were making a movie, this had to be the one. But if you may indulge me and take us back all the way 10 years ago, when the premise of Hanky Panky, I'm guessing, first came to life in the 2014 short film Hanky Panky, which I have not seen, but looks like it stars the same gentleman with the same troubled expression, having maintained over those 10 years, I'm certain. What, obviously, the feature film was something you had to do because it was the one you could do. What was the inception, I guess, for the hub of the story to bring about the 7-minute short in the first place?
Well, so that short was done for the 48-hour film project, which is if for those who don't know, you have 48 hours exactly to start and finish a short film. And there, we did it in the LA version. It was like 120 teams of filmmakers who did it that year. And it's a fun thing. You draw out of a hat, unrelated hat. You draw like you get assigned a genre, a prop, a line of dialogue, the name of a character, a few things. And like the prop that year was a napkin. And our team I can't, this was so long ago, I don't remember who takes credit slash blame for anything, but someone, I was probably me, was like, what if we make the napkin the main character instead of just a prop? Because then that'll help us stand out. And also we only have a couple days, and that'll be a funny, and our genre that we selected or got assigned rather was comedy. So, and we had a character named Sam. So we were like, okay, we'll do a talking napkin movie. Like, and then at that point, we just set out to do this. It's very modest in scope, but I think it was quite charming. This like short film that's just a couple setting up one of each of their friends on a blind date. And the two of them are very awkward and they don't really hit it off. And we sort of go underneath the table where we meet two napkins who on their laps are having a very different kind of conversation. One that's much more, into their ego. It's very like the napkins are not bound up in all of the sort of human problems. And so that we sort of cut back and forth between the napkin world and the people world, and it intersects when there's a spill or whatever. And it was a little bawdy, but it wasn't like disgusting. There was no horror element at all. It was just like a rom-com little piece, one scene. And, and he spills something on her. And then through the napkins, we sort of introduce, we resolve, this couple maybe is going to go on another date. That's it. Very modest. And we had made a lot of shorts like this, and that one, I don't know, we just sort of really, really liked it. And so when we were like, we're going to make a feature film, it should probably be a comedy horror movie. It's going to take place in this cabin because that's Lindsey's dad's cabin. So we're like, we have a cabin. We had this funky camera that we won, a Digital Bolex D16, with another short film that was in another film festival. It was at Slam Dance, and we won as a prize this camera that shoots on these old 16mm lenses. So we had like bits and pieces that were really assembled for us, and then we're like, well, what's the silliest short film that we've done that we could turn into a comedy horror movie? Hanky Panky was sort of like natural. Well, okay, what if this handkerchief gets wrapped up in a Clue-style murder mystery that he's got to solve? I don't remember who or why we came up with Killer Top Hat. I keep asking people, like I asked Lindsey the other day, I was like, who came up with the top hat? And she was like, no, it's just the opposite of a napkin. And I was like, all right, that's as good that's a good an explanation as I can come up with now.
I did not know a top hat was the opposite of a napkin. You learned something.
I think it makes sense.
Yeah, no, I certainly have no arguments against that. Yeah. Now, I guess speaking of this top hat, there is shall we say, a big name associated with Hanky Panky. Obviously, you have your career and have done your things, as has Lindsey Haun, but even on the promotional material, you mention Seth Green. Now, just to briefly go into his involvement, obviously as Harry the Evil Hat, but how did you catch his eye for his involvement?
So Seth is a friend of ours, and we know Seth because Lindsey and Seth's wife Claire, who plays Kelly in the movie, met in an improv class at Upright Citizens Brigade like 12 or 14 years ago or something. And so like they had both been like told like you should take an improv class by their reps or whatever, and went and took an improv class and met each other and became friends, and like didn't go back to the improv class. And so we like Claire was always involved with the project from pretty early, just as like being someone who was fun and down and an actor who wanted to do it. We didn't initially ask Seth to be involved because he's famous and we're not, and we didn't want him to think that we were like just trying to sandwich his name into our movie. And then afterwards he was like, I want to be involved, and we were like, well, we got puppet voices, you want to do one? I perhaps was naive in understanding that once we had a distributor, like that they would want to market the film exclusively based on Seth's name, even though he had been, only involved as a voice. And I think he does great and he adds a lot, but obviously he's not the star of the movie. And so there was there's a little bit of back and forth. There's only so much you can do as the filmmaker, because you're like, well, I want people to see this movie, and the distributing people and the marketing people and all those people are like, this is how to get anybody to see this movie. So thus on some of those posters, Seth Green is Hanky Panky or whatever. So be it. Seth. The one thing that's cool about Seth's fame is that I think a lot of the people that are his fans are also potential fans of a movie like Hanky Panky, because so many people know him from either Family Guy or from Robot Chicken, or from I knew him before I met him, obviously, as Can't Hardly Wait and all of that. But other people, like he's got a lot of people that want to see whatever he does and are willing to go down some weird road to look at something strange. Like Robot Chicken is a deranged television show that he made. So I think there's at least some tonal overlap there.
Yeah, certainly. He certainly seemed to fit in there with the vocalization, so it's definitely seamless there. And I guess that reminds me of one question that has been on my mind since I watched it, however long ago that was, a month or so now. There's obviously Seth Green is Harry the Evil Hat, and everyone else is credited within in the various roles of largely doomed individuals. I sat through the entire credits and even poked around briefly trying to find out who voiced Woody, because I did not see any indication whatsoever for that, and his particular accent, shall we say, really caught my ear, and so I've been a little curious about that ever since.
It's buried somewhere in the end credits that it's Toby Bryan, who also plays Norm. Toby talk about wear a lot of hats on the movie. Toby, Toby's who built this all the Harry puppets and rigged all the fishing lines and made all the fake blood and plays Norm, and helped develop the project and helped with the script. Is a pretty important collaborator on it. So Toby is in the dual role of Woody and Norm. That wasn't necessarily originally the intention, because Toby was puppeteering, and so it's Toby's hand is always the hand inside Woody, always. But we sort of did voices. Usually it was Toby doing Woody, but like if Harry was speaking, sometimes that was me, sometimes that was Lindsey, always with like the awareness that we could, after the fact, cast those roles with name actors, right? Like at some point we would go to, if we went to Seth for Harry, we might go to another, we have a lot of friends who have big names or have, somewhat of a profile, who would, Woody would probably be a day's work at the most, right? And we would go to them afterwards. But then I don't know, like I fell in love with Toby's performance as Woody, and it just seemed so much of a piece. And almost all of Woody's dialogue, obviously not all of it, but almost all of it is recorded live, in the space with the other actors. We didn't go back and record over most of it. 90% of it probably was recorded there, and it gives it this feeling that's like he feels very real, very present. And because Toby was literally timing his vocal performance with the movements, it just works really well, especially for a puppet that doesn't have a face. He doesn't have eyes. It really takes, you got to do whatever you can to imbue humanity into him. And like if we had gone back and found like some famous voice actor to come in and do another voice on top of Woody, I don't think that would have worked. And so we were like, no, it's got to be Toby. Toby has to stay Woody and Norm. But Seth can be Harry, because I always kind of knew, like, Harry in my head was Skeletor. Like that was just always the voice. And Seth has a great he does Skeletor and Robot Chicken. Like I know Seth Skeletor, so I was like, this fits. I had it from throughout.
Okay, that's fantastic. Yeah, Toby Bryan was in his human performance was also always fascinating to observe, with whatever it was he was up to for his acting method there as the rustic brother.
everybody rustic is such a nice euphemism for what he is. Everybody made such bold choices as actors. Like in retrospect, I mean, it's not like we decided it should be that way. It was just like people like we said a lot of yes to things as a collective, like as a troupe throughout the sort of what should be in this movie and what should these people be like and what should they do. Um, as much as we kept it grounded and real as much as possible, but like there's some pretty big choices in terms of myself included as Dr. Crane. But like he's sort of the most. I was in academia before I was full-time pursuing screenwriting, and he's a little bit the most extreme version of actual professors that I knew in the world of higher education, and the sort of most ridiculous version of myself.
That
And
that brings up a question that I had been considering asking, which is in Giles's review, he posits that the characters are killed in the order of most annoying to least annoying, which I think is subjective. I wouldn't necessarily agree with that order, but is that something you had planned? Is there a reason the first character dies first and the second character dies second?
The reason we killed characters in the order that we did was based on actor availability. That is it. When I say that this movie was like, this is the movie we could make and not the movie that like in a perfect world we would want, like we didn't have to compromise anywhere on this because we just made whatever was available to us. We used whatever we could and whatever we had. We used the lights that someone was willing to let us. I think they were mostly used for shooting porn. We just used those lights like that. There was never here's what we want, here's choice B, C, D. It was just there was never that conversation. So it was when it came to like writing the script and crafting the story, it was like, okay, I gotta die, I gotta direct the movie, so let's kill me off. But then we only have Azure who plays Lilith for like 3 days or whatever. So we have to think of, first of all, we got to kill her off right when she shows up. But then also we got to think of some reason why she's hiding for the first half of the movie. And again, I don't remember who was like, well, what if she had a face on the back of her head and that gives her migraines? I have no recollection of who said that first. But then we just said yes to it. Right. And so it was like, okay, we got it. We know we have to we lose this actor here. We lose Claire here. We lose Christina here. So we'll kill them and them. And I don't know, if you could stay and do the whole movie, then you can be a lead and stay until the end of the movie was kind of the calculus there.
You survive based on your availability.
Yeah.
And another thing that I wanted to get out is the movie actually kind of, and I'm gathering that this is what it really was like, is it gives off a vibe of a bunch of friends together in a cabin on vacation, and somebody says, hey, we got this script to film, by the way, and a movie breaks out, but it's like it's a bunch of people just having a blast and enjoying themselves, making a movie. Did you all like live in close proximity for a week or so that you were shooting this?
Oh no, we all stayed in that one cabin together for the entire time. We didn't have anywhere else to stay. There was just one cabin, and we were there for a few weeks prepping, a few weeks shooting. Nobody stayed anywhere else. It was just I wouldn't recommend doing this without it being a very close group of friends and family. We slept on the couches and blew up some air mattresses. Like prep for that movie involved me. I mean, I did some crazy things. I went and bought like a bunch of bunk beds off Craigslist in like remote rural Utah, driving my wife's and I's at that time Prius, like around in the snow, like putting chains on this like beat up little car that had no business going up like snowy hills, loading it up and like strapping bunk beds to the roof of it and driving it around. We crammed in there. And so yes, I'm so happy that, because what we were always just sort of hoping and praying for was that the vibe of how zany and crazy the whole thing felt to make some of that would come across on the screen. And if some of that like energy was there, then that would be a good sign. I mean, you're exactly right, except I did tell people we were making a movie before luring them up to Utah. It wasn't like I promised a good time of snowman building and sledding, and they got there and I was like, surprise, it's a movie. They knew there was a movie. I maybe was like, yeah, yeah, we'll go snowboarding on the weekends. And I don't think much snowboarding was had. I think on the weekends I was just working, and I think most people were either exhausted or had more work to do in one way or another. Because I was also doing like the DIT. I was doing like there was an awful lot to be done with managing all the media and backing up hard drives, and Francis Ford Coppola style rewriting the whole script every night, and taking some of that stuff pretty seriously. It was crazy. And it's just at the end of the whole thing, like, it's shocking. It's so gratifying right now when anyone treats it like a real movie at all in any capacity. Because like this was like a group of friends who made this movie, and we kind of feel like we pulled one over on a lot of people. Like Apple and Amazon and Google have this on their platforms, and we're like right next to, like, there's like podcasts that are like, this week we're doing The Fall Guy and Hanky Panky, and we're like, what happened? How did we trick anybody into thinking this was a real movie? I guess it is.
Yeah, and indeed, possibly part of its own movie universe. Obviously, you expanded upon the awkward encounter between the two leads from the opening short film, which were the two, well, I'll call them the romantic leads in Hanky Panky, Ashley Holiday Tavares and Jacob DeMonte Finn. They reprised, I'm guessing, their roles to one degree or another for this, and not to give, this is a horror movie, but it's a happy ending style horror movie, and I think things are nicely set up for further
Oh yeah. I
adventures.
have a half a script for Hanky Panky 2, which nobody can stop us. You know what I mean? We don't need anybody to help. Like, we proved we can make one movie and release it with absolutely nothing. So if we are able to, the success of Hanky Panky 1 will only any economic success that it manages to scrounge together will that'll just go towards more blood for Hanky Panky 2. There could be a lot more gore and blood. I think people would like that. I think people want it from, especially like this poster that the distributor made, where it's really emphasizing that this is a killer top hat movie rather than my initial poster, which was like based on the Clue poster, just everybody in a house together being silly. But I don't know. I'm having a lot of fun sort of leaning into the horror of it more and make it a more alien invasion killer top hat franchise. That would be so fun. Yeah, that's gonna happen. We're doing that.
Yeah.
Everybody will be in it again, even if they were killed. We'll figure out a way to play someone else or something.
Oh, no, it's good to keep a film family like that together. And yeah, I know from interviewing I've done with people who've either made violence movies or horror movies that of the variety that they're working on, they want the practical effect look. And yes, I know blood is more expensive than some people might think, especially bursts
Well,
of it.
what it is that's the blood's not the expensive part. It's the fact that, every outfit you have, now you have to have 5 of it, because every single take you're gonna ruin that. You know what I mean? Like, if you're we did a short film where we blew up a head once, and the amount of blood, and we shot it in our own house. I, for years, was finding bits of blood because it gets on actors, then they walk around, you bump into doorways. You don't think about this. You have to repaint whole rooms after you, like, we had blood on the ceiling, we had blood on the walls. And then but then not just in that room. People walk out, they get it on their shoes, they get blood everywhere. Blood it's messy. We would have used more of it, but that's Lindsay's dad's cabin. We couldn't get blood anywhere in it. We had to be very careful.
So, and we've also touched on this, but it's something I guess I'd like for you to reaffirm, is that, when we interview some filmmakers and they get nervous about budgets and don't want to be called a low budget or micro budget film because they think it might drive some audience members away. But it seems to me you guys have gone exactly the opposite and are bragging about how little you spent making this movie. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, I'm proud of what we were able to accomplish just on favors and friendship and loaning stuff and borrowing things. We didn't do anything illegal. Like, I'm having, well, I mean, people did drugs on it, but like, we didn't like steal anything. You know what I mean? We did it pretty by the book for having no money, and I think that's something to lean into and be like, well, I mean, this is really a movie that I think, like, we're all we're filmmakers who made it, but we also kind of made it for a filmmaking community. I think like one of the primary audiences for this movie is people who have like made movies with their friends, and one thing that I've heard from people is like who are like that is like, it's so cool that you made a whole feature film in the way and style that me and a lot of people I know have made like shorts and a lot of stupid things. Like you committed so much more time and effort and energy into this very dumb thing than anybody else does. Like nobody does it like this. And so I think that's unique about the movie. And I think the end result is, it's something I hope that's refreshingly different than everything that's out there. And can you imagine if we tried to pretend like we had money and leaned into it and be like, real movie with, we had $1.5 million and this is what we came up with?
For example, I know a lot of people have commented about at one point there's visible wires on the
Yeah.
hat. And so you are just yeah, we're not pretending. This is what it is.
I think it's priorities, you know what I mean? Like I'm not so worried about seeing the wires or not seeing. You see the wires on the Muppets, you see the wires on Kermit, you still love Kermit, right? Like I don't know, half of the people are like, this is so embarrassing, I can see all the wires. It's like, okay, movie's not for you, that's fine. And the other half of people are like, oh my god, it's so brilliant that you showed all the wires. And I'm like, I got rid of the wires I could, you know what I mean? Like I just didn't worry about them. It's not like I was like, we're gonna see the wires and it's like this like exercise in formalism or something. I was just like, there's some places I got rid of wires because we shot plates and we did some things like that. But then there's a lot of like moving handheld camera puppets on strings. Like, okay, fine, you see the wires. Like if it was neither like a programmatic decision nor just like an accident. We were just like, I'm interested in telling a sort of funny story and making people laugh and having it feel like I don't know what this movie is. This is completely different. I love movies that sort of keep you off guard with not letting you know what kind of genre you're watching. Like that's one of my favorite experiences as a viewer, is like thinking I'm in one kind of movie and I end up in another movie. There's I was influenced by, there was this independent Japanese movie from like 2008, 2009 called Love Exposure. Have you guys seen this?
Absolutely, yeah. Wrote it up long.
Oh yeah. It was very influential because it's like 3 or 4 hours long, but it doesn't fuse genres so much as like switch genres several times in the middle. So at one point you're watching like a screwball comedy about guys using kung fu to like shoot upskirt photography of girls they get in with but then it gets like really dark and it becomes like this like drama about this guy and his Catholic upbringing. She gets in a cult, then it becomes like an action piece about how he's got to like save the girl from the cult. Like I like that. I found it a very rewarding and unique experience to watch it. And so it's not that Hanky Panky doesn't really do that in particular, but that vibe, the willingness to go there, I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, I noticed early on when right near
I
the
did. So I
beginning.
promised we might have Lindsey, and we
Oh,
got
wow.
Lindsey. We did
Hey,
get Lindsey.
Hello,
hello.
Lindsay.
Oh, I can't hear you.
You can't hear because I'm on here. We can just unplug the headphones, I think.
He's the co-director.
Do you want to pull up? Do you want to sit in the pilot chair since I'm in it?
Sure.
I'll move.
Hi, everybody.
Can we still hear you guys?
I hope so.
I hope so.
No. Hold on. I got to plug in the speaker.
Okay.
I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear us? Hello.
Oh, wow. Look at this.
Can you hear us?
I can hear you
Oh,
now.
great.
All
It's,
right.
Lindsey
Hi.
Haun, the co-director, and had a major acting role in the film and has a long acting career. Started acting as a child actress, if IMDb is to be believed. So
Yes. And it is.
Well,
Glad we got
Sometimes,
that.
not everything. It's true. It's true. It had my wrong birth date for a really long
Oh.
time.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
glad that's fixed.
Me too.
So I guess we have a quick time for like a quick hanky panky question or two. So let's see. How did you guys divide up, since you're listed as co-directors, how did you divide up the directing duties?
Well, first of all, anytime he was on screen, I was directing. Anytime I was on screen, he was directing. So that part split pretty well. And then I had some specific ideas for visuals, and I work really well with performance. So I took over a lot of that, but also we were pretty good when we both weren't on when we both weren't on film. We were pretty good at sharing the duties and like, hey, what do you think about this? And we tried to keep it so that only one of us was talking to the actors per scene, basically, so that it wasn't like a free-for-all. Because I've worked with co-directors before where they're like both telling you something and then somebody, and it's like contradictory and they don't realize it, you know what I mean? So that was really important to me, that it was, for each scene there was only really one mouth talking, even though we were both talking to each other and trying to figure out. And there were some times when Nick was like, had so many hats on that he would be like,
too many hats.
Oh, too many hats. I didn't even mean to make a hat joke. But like he would be like digging out snow trenches, you know what I mean? So I was like, okay, well, I'm directing this scene, So or like trying to get cars out of the snow. There was a whole day where Nick and Claire were like in charge of pulling a car out of the snow that we had gotten stuck. So
Giles, you have Lindsey Haun.
Yeah, because
Good
you
question.
you have an important monologue right around the climax of the movie, and I was personally curious where that bit of characterization came from, because the voice you adopted there, I actually know someone who speaks like that.
really?
Yes, it was very uncanny to observe or listen to that person on a table going at length about what you did. So I'm just sort of wondering if you might be able to touch very briefly on that while we've got a little bit of time here.
That is so sweet. No one has asked me this question, and it's Chrissy from Three's Company. That's all I'm playing. That's all I'm doing. I just the thing is that Christina and Claire and I have very similar looks. And then on top of it, we can all have very similar vocal tones. So I was like, how am I going to differentiate us from each other? So I loved Three's Company growing up, and I was like, I know, I could be Chrissy.
Satisfies my curiosity wonderfully. So I guess we have probably 2 questions left, Greg, maybe 2.5.
Yeah, ask one hanky panky question and then our final question.
Oh yeah, I was just sort of curious. Obviously, this is out. Nick was very, very boastful about how this is on. You pulled the fast one on Apple and IMDb. Is this just sort of a done deal distribution now, or is there further steps you're thinking of taking with this?
Well, it will be. When does this air? What do you mean? Oh yeah, when does this podcast air? I thought you were asking me when.
Tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow, yeah.
Well, okay, so on June 14th, it'll also be on AVOD, on Tubi, and all of the other platforms. So that's probably something we should be promoting more. It'll be free on all the advertised base. I think it'll be on, I don't have the list, Roku, Pluto. They've all got absolutely absurd names.
Yeah.
It makes sense that it's Hanky Panky will be on all of them. Tubi for sure is the biggest of them. June 14th, it'll be on everywhere.
It's a nice broad future release, and we heard tell already that there is a follow-up in the works script wise, which is great.
Yeah, it's very kooky.
It's
even kookier than the first one.
Whoa. And I guess in our Greg?
Yeah, well, so we have like 2 minutes and we have 2 questions. And first we'd just like to give you guys a chance to plug or promote anything else you have upcoming besides Hanky Panky 2? No?
Nothing. Just Hanky. Well, I mean, do you?
Nothing that we really can plug. I mean, my band is on Spotify, the Han Solo Project. But other than that,
Say the name again.
The Han Solo Project, HAUN.
Okay.
But nothing up and coming that we can talk about at the moment. Yeah.
All right, Giles, final question.
All right, we like to wrap up every 366 interview. This is for both of you. If you'd care to tell us what your hometown is, and can you recommend a restaurant there?
Oh my gosh. Wow. You go first.
You go. My hometown is Los Angeles.
Uh-huh.
What restaurants? You know what? I'm gonna give it up to Cactus Taqueria. Here's why.
Cactus tacos.
Cactus Taqueria, dependable. Now if you DoorDash from them or whatever, they forget most of the stuff like half the time, so not dependable in that way. But the food, very dependable. Good tacos at a reasonable price. I feel like Los Angeles taco prices have gotten out of control. We've sort of like they're way ahead of inflation, right? Tacos should be a couple bucks, and you shouldn't have to sacrifice. You know, it's a taco. That's what it's for. and Cactus Taqueria, they do that. They have good horchata. There's several locations. It's not quite a chain. Maybe it's a chain. I don't know. So it's a taco chain in LA, and I like it. So Cactus.
Excellent. And we will just say that's Lindsey's pick too, because we're out of time. So goodbye. Thank you both so much for being
glad you could pop by, Lindsey. Nick,
yeah, Las Vegas, the Nomad, Las Vegas, all the restaurants at the Nomad. That's what I would say.
There we go. We got it in. All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Cheers.
Bye.